I'm Randy May, President of the Free State Foundation, and I'm pleased to welcome all of you to the conference today. This is the 6th annual Telecom Policy Conference of the Free State Foundation. I'm especially pleased to welcome our C-SPAN audience today. I'm a fellow C-SPAN junkie, big time. I even watch book TV on the weekends, although I catch a lot of flack from my wife for how much book TV I watch on the weekends. That's on C-SPAN. So I appreciate C-SPAN being with us today. And I also understand Bloomberg TV is with us as well, and I appreciate that as well. So if you were here last year, you heard me say something very much like what I'm going to say right now. And I may have to keep saying it every year until global warming finally kicks in. Last November, when I picked this date for the conference, you can understand that I had in mind a nice warm day in the 60s, maybe the cherry blossoms already in bloom or so. And I didn't think that once again in mid-March, and this was the case last year, that I'd be worrying about snow in the forecast. So maybe next year we'll do this in May. I'm just kidding. We're going to be back again for number 7 sometime in March, but maybe it could be a few days later, and hoping for some local warming, if not global warming, next year. Anyway, the other thing that I say at the beginning of each conference is that it's hard for me to believe that this is our 6th one, or whichever one it happens to be. And now that the Free State Foundation is just about to begin its 8th year, I'm already beginning to think about a really nice 10th anniversary gala celebration. So stay tuned for that. Now, I want to take just a couple minutes before we get started in earnest with Commissioner Clyburn's opening keynote address to briefly tell you what to expect today. The conference theme is a new FCC and a new Communications Act, aligning communications policy with marketplace realities. A new FCC refers, of course, to the fact that the agency has a new chairman and a new commissioner. Indeed, you're going to hear from Michael O'Reilly, the new commissioner, at lunchtime when I engage him in the traditional lunchtime conversation. In fact, former acting Chairman Clyburn, and now Commissioner Clyburn, did that with me 1 year as well. Now, whenever the agency is reconstituted, and especially with a new chairman, there's an opportunity for a fresh start, for changing course. A new Communications Act refers to the House Commerce Committee's recently initiated project, which I very much welcome, to review and update the Communications Act. And aligning communications policy with marketplace realities refers to, well, you know, that refers to all the changes that have taken place in the communications marketplace, which we're going to be discussing today, and by the way, which continue to occur at a rapid pace, and what these changes may mean for communications policy, and as importantly to me, what they ought to mean for communications policy. So I've already mentioned 2 of our keynote speakers, Commissioners Clyburn and O'Reilly. The third is FTC Commissioner Maureen Ohlhausen, who will deliver the closing address. Obviously, her perspective concerning the respective jurisdiction of the FCC and the FTC in regulating or not regulating broadband internet providers in a post-Verizon DC Circuit decision world will be very interesting. In addition to these keynote addresses, we have 2 panels during the morning featuring senior officials and experts with a wide variety of perspectives. They will share their views on the most important and controversial communications policy topics of the day. So we're going to cover a lot of ground, and we should get started. Now, before I forget, there are pieces of paper on your table, the Twitter conference, Twitter handle for the conference is hashtag FSFCONF. Some of you know we've had longer ones in the past, which I've bungled, but this is nice and simple, so tweet away. Now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Deborah Taylor Tate, a distinguished former FCC commissioner herself, and by the way, now a distinguished senior adjunct fellow at the Free State Foundation, who's going to introduce Commissioner Clyburn. I just want to say one word about Debbie. She, as many of you know, she's a very busy woman. She travels internationally a lot, has contributed a lot to helping other countries understand communications policy and some of the good things we do here in the U.S. and I appreciate her contributions to the Free State Foundation. And then finally, and I'm not going to steal Commissioner Tate's thunder in introducing Commissioner Clyburn, but I do want to say that we're pleased to have you here today. I enjoyed having you previously. I look forward to your remarks and hope you'll come back many times in the future. With that, Debbie Tate.
Thanks, Randy. Well, as you all can imagine, as I was detouring through Detroit yesterday, it is truly March Madness. So anyway, I'm glad that I finally got here. And I want to thank Randy, too, his insight, both while I was still as a state commissioner in Tennessee and then at the FCC, and how much I value Free State, and now my new role here as an adjunct scholar. I think that's what we've decided. And now more than ever, I think we need these type of dialogues in a sometime vitriolic time that we have as we continue to see the exciting transformation that's going on, but also challenging times for our industry and for the sector and for the entire internet ecosystem that I'm sure we're going to get into later as we talk about not only the role of the United States, but also the global economy. So I'm so very pleased to introduce my friend Chairman. Mr. Wiley says, once a chairman, always a chairman. So I will always introduce her as that, and also Commissioner Mignon Clyburn. What I think was so remarkable about Mignon's role as chairman was that she will never, ever be called a caretaker chairman. She was certainly one of the most active chairmen that the FCC has ever seen. As you all know, she was also a history-making chairman, and in every speech I give, literally, I talk about Mignon, because not only was she the first woman, the first female African-American woman to serve as chair, the first owner of a small business, and the first true Southerner. So all of those things I want to tell every audience. She did not only change history, but she also took on really substantive actions and saw them through. She was also courageous. You all remember that she actually brought up the inmate phone issues and discussed them and dealt with them at the FCC level. Even though many of us had done that at the state level, it had just never quite been on the agenda until someone as courageous as Chairman Clyburn took them on. And then, of course, you all know that she oversaw, both as the head of the joint board and then as chairman, the kind of final work that had to do with USF reform, something near and dear to my heart as well, and something that we shared at the state and federal level. She also understands the economic impact of many of these decisions, but at the same time, she always keeps consumers and citizens of America at the forefront of each one of her decisions, and how what the FCC does impacts citizens every single day. And I can't say enough about what a champion she has been for women. She speaks all the time to women's groups. We hosted a historic, MMTC hosted a historic Women at the FCC event, and it's just been wonderful to see what a role model she is for young girls and women across America, because if you can't see it, you can't be it. Most recently, and I'm very excited about this, the chairman has asked her to head the newest healthcare initiative, the task force that is being called Connect to Health, which I'm really, really glad to say that Commissioner Clyburn started a long time ago. She actually came to Nashville and did a whole field trip seeing the very first electronic medical record that Vanderbilt developed, actually back during the Bush administration. So she has been for a long time such a champion of all of these issues, and certainly as it relates to rural health care, something that I worked on while I was at the FCC as well. She also understands how technology is going to reach those who are most at risk of being left behind, across the digital divide. So I'm so excited, and thank you, Randy, for having the foresight to invite her back again. And with that, just please, please welcome a very effective chairman, Mignon Clyburn.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner Tate, my friend, once a friend, always a friend, for such a gracious introduction, and for Mr. May for such an efficient start. I'm impressed. I need to learn a little bit from that. It's a pleasure for me to join the Free State Foundation during the 6th, I think you determined it was the 6th, right? I couldn't tell from some of the exchange, but it's 6th Telecom Policy Conference. Subsequent panels will discuss whether Congress should pass a new Communications Act, and if so, what that should include. But from my perspective, marketplace realities dictate that today's FCC can ill afford to be in standby mode. In order to provide the degree of certainty needed for both the industry and consumers to function when it comes to the rules of the road, decisions must be made, and they must be made now. No one really disputes that the Communications Act accurately reflects current realities. The Act divides the industry into silos, traditional silos of common carriers, cables, and wireless that no longer exist. Those distinctions have been blurred for some time now and pose challenges for us all. But the statute's core values remain as relevant today as they were decades ago: competition, consumer protection, universal service, and public safety. And I am pleased that the Commission made clear in the recent technology transition order that our commitment to preserve these values is unwavering. What an incredible time to be involved in this space, as technology continues to open doors we previously thought unreachable. Traditional energy co-ops providing broadband, cable companies offering voice and even natural gas options, and legacy telephone companies supplying video. In a few areas, new entrants such as Google Fiber are providing competitive alternatives, and in other areas, localities have responded to demands by constructing their own network, providing consumers with broadband for the very first time. Increasingly, opportunities they exist, but not for everyone. So I am hopeful for a day when wireless providers offer speeds, capacity, and pricing that are truly competitive alternatives to wireline broadband. I am hopeful for a place when innovators and advancements create sustainable solutions for our most difficult to serve areas, bringing universal broadband within reach and finally closing the digital divide. And I am hopeful for a time when ubiquitous next generation 911 not only has features such as video chat that will save lives, but will be more robust and resilient than our current public safety networks. But to get there, we must be willing to be bold. The industry needs to take more risk, try new things, push new technologies beyond the current boundaries in order to produce positive dividends, particularly for our most vulnerable and hardest to serve populations. And I know taking risk also means accepting degrees of failure, but that's all right if we're willing to learn and keep on trying. And we are not exempt, for I believe that the FCC should be willing to take some risks, to be creative, and to look for ways to promote our core values. Policies that are no longer necessary or inhibit innovation or competitive entry should be modified or eliminated. We should be open to embracing new policies, but most importantly, we must be willing to make decisions as quickly as possible and not allow ourselves to be paralyzed by the fear of being wrong if the goal is to promote those core values as maintained. The Technology Transition Order the FCC adopted in January is a prime example of an agency looking for solutions to provide robust broadband in unserved or underserved areas. I applaud Chairman Wheeler for tackling this issue so quickly and soliciting expressions of interest on proposals to deploy robust broadband in rural communities. These experiments have the potential to promote universal service in a way that the Commission has yet to, by inviting all interested entities, including localities, electric co-ops, research, development, and development networks, wireless providers, cable providers, as well as incumbent telcos, to submit proposals and express interest. For as well-intentioned as we may be at the federal level, too often we craft policies from a singular matrix and attempt to fit an urban peg in a rural hole. All too often, when we do so in this manner, we fall incredibly short because the challenges and the solutions for these communities are not congruent. So I hope you join in my excitement about these experiments, because these trials could unleash opportunities for solutions from rural areas for rural areas. To date, nearly 1,000 proposals from mostly local community-based entities have been filed at the FCC showing a significant demand for robust broadband. They include innovative ideas and proposals from electric co-ops, leveraging their existing networks to provide fiber to the home, to community-based initiatives wishing to construct broadband, sometimes in partnership with other entities, to cable providers, research and development networks, WISP, wireless providers, and we even got proposals involving TV white spaces. While the FCC is still evaluating these and their relative merits in order to develop an order and budget, these experiments could enable rural communities to be incubators of innovation. And this is not the first time rural areas have taken the lead in technology and innovation. As Jonathan Chambers, chief of our Office of Strategic Planning, noted in his blog last week, cable television was deployed first in rural areas because homes are unable to pick up a broadband signal. Not so much time passed before these first-generation cable companies showed the rest of the country that this service was not just for rural areas, and the rest, as they say, is history. But let me note that cable's entry would not have occurred but for regulation. Cable providers needed the access to utility poles to deploy networks. The Pole Attachments Act of 1978 made this possible, and with technological advancements, today's cable providers offer robust broadband throughout their footprints, as well as video and voice. While I understand the instinct for many is to push for a deregulatory framework, there are potential dangers and consequences in a regulatory-free zone. For regulation has enabled tremendous growth, and the Commission's policies are directly responsible for many of the things we take for granted. One such example is the Commission's decision to permit greater use of unlicensed spectrum. This has spurred one of our nation's greatest innovation engines. It has given us technologies such as baby monitors, cordless phones, Bluetooth, radio frequency identification or RFID, and Wi-Fi. Some of these technologies have led to the development of billion-dollar industries. And while precise estimates vary, it is clear that as a result, at the end of 2013, billions of Bluetooth-enabled devices have been sold worldwide. But none of this would have been possible if the agency yielded to those who wanted us to stifle innovation in this area. Remember, when unlicensed Wi-Fi technology began to gain momentum several years ago, a number of commercial wireless providers complained that Wi-Fi networks could cause interference. They argued that the FCC should allocate more spectrum as primary exclusive use licenses. But today, many of the largest commercial wireless service providers manage their customers' demand for internet broadband data services by shifting that traffic from licensed networks to unlicensed Wi-Fi networks. Last month, an economist reported that about 60% of smartphone data traffic is being transmitted over Wi-Fi connections. Service using unlicensed spectrum can also help bridge the digital divide. Despite the amount of spectrum that the FCC has auctioned over the years, there are a number of areas in this country, rural areas and low-income urban communities, that have no broadband providers or do not have many choices. As a result of the 2010 final rules, which the Commission adopted for unlicensed use of the TV white spaces, we have created another opportunity for innovation to connect unserved and underserved communities. Since the Commission initiated its TV white space proceeding about 10 years ago, every FCC commissioner has supported the development of unlicensed services in TV white spaces. We have already seen in Virginia and North Carolina that TV white space devices often lower costs over unlicensed spectrum, over lower costs unlicensed spectrum, can successfully bring affordable wireless broadband services to both rural areas and low-income urban communities. This past summer, West Virginia University started deploying TV white spaces through the Metro system that serves a campus in neighboring communities. The main reason that the university opted for white spaces is because the mountains and other geographic characteristics present huge challenges to wireless companies. There are initiatives such as AirU, a partnership of GigU, New America Foundation, the United Negro College Fund, Google, Microsoft, and others, helping universities to take advantage of these services. Some of these institutions are located in rural areas and struggle to find affordable broadband solutions. AirU offers a low-cost means to provide increased coverage and capacity, which helps to stimulate and aggregate demand in the adjacent community and spur investment in TV whitespace technology. In similar vein, I have long advocated against laws that prohibit localities from entering markets, particularly when existing providers have not responded to the needs and demands for advanced services in under or unserved areas. I am encouraged that the chairman has announced his intention to evaluate the impact of these so-called muni broadband laws and look forward to working with him and my colleagues to promote more competition in this space. And as I close, I wish to encourage this audience and other stakeholders to continue to share their thoughts on how the FCC can modernize its rules in line with our shared core values. Let's get beyond the rhetoric and talking points of deregulation versus status quo. Neither option, quite frankly, is realistic. Sound, specific proposals that advance the bar are the best means for prompt decision-making in a healthy marketplace. I thank you very much and look forward to any questions you may have.
Well, Commissioner Clyburn, thank you very much, and I appreciate your getting us off to such a good start, and you covered a lot of territory, and we're going to be discussing a lot of it throughout the day. And as you know, you and I think you know this, and we've talked about it, we don't agree on everything that the FCC does. You've noticed, but you know, frankly, that's why I appreciate your being here, because I do agree that the discussion and the dialogue is important, and your address this morning certainly contributes to that, and I appreciate it. Now, I'm going to, the other thing I want to say is, you know, we're both from the Carolinas, right? You're from South Carolina, and I'm from North Carolina.
Hold that against you.
Yeah, well, you know, so I'm a Yankee up compared to South Carolina, but I mean, the one thing I noticed is that you speak a lot more quickly than I do. I've been trying to adapt for decades, but you've done a better job, so that's good. And the azaleas are blooming in Charleston now, I'm sure.
I will find out in a few days.
Okay. So I want to ask the first, maybe a first question or two, and then we're going to turn to the audience for a few questions as well. And for the people that are standing, there are seats throughout here, and you're welcome just to walk right in and find a seat. So here's my first question. The staff acting on delegated authority has been in the news quite a bit recently. There have been a couple of instances where I think really from both sides of the aisle, so to speak, commissioners have raised questions about the particular exercises of the staff acting on delegated authority, and for those in our C-SPAN audience, that means the commissioners themselves don't vote on a particular action, but the staff just takes that action on behalf of the commission. So, and I know Commissioners Pye and O'Reilly, at least publicly, they have expressed some concerns about the recent use of staff actions on delegated authority. So as a commissioner, and as one who uniquely also has served as chairman, what are your views on the proper exercise of delegated authority?
Thank you very much. That is an issue, as you said, that I've seen, I guess, from both sides. When we talk about delegated authority, I want to emphasize one thing, that we do not interact in a vacuum. This is not a non-interactive place, meaning the FCC. So no matter how things are delegated, how things, where things lie in terms of final decision making, again, exchanges happen. Interaction happens, and so I want it to be very clear that again, this is a very communicative, interactive place. The ability, for the chair to make certain decisions, the ability for it to be delegated in that manner is clearly laid out. These are not, black or white issues. I think from a regulatory standpoint, the chair and commissioners deserve some flexibility, some dexterity. And let's keep in mind, many of you in the audience have recommended to us on a number of occasions that we need to move things quickly, that you want expedited decision making. This type of decision making is more expedited. It would give you, it gives the certainty and quickness that a lot of you are, have asked for. So, these are things that you have to weigh. And so I am not overly concerned. I would be if there were not interaction, but there is interaction. There's healthy interaction, and so again, it's the dexterity that I think is needed both from a managerial standpoint and an expedited decision-making standpoint.
Okay, well, thank you for that perspective, and again, you've been in both places. So. My next question is this, and this is an area that I think you and I do agree on or share a lot of common perspective as opposed to maybe some others. And that regards the Commission's Lifeline service. I've been, for a long time actually, I've been an advocate of maintaining a healthy Lifeline program for low-income persons to support their ability to get on the network. And I continue to do that, but frankly, as you're aware, and a lot of people in this room are aware, there have been, particularly in the last couple of years, there have been reports about, I think, increasing instances of abuse of the program, fraud in the program, and to the extent that that's true or that it's increasing, it seems to me that that might jeopardize support for the program among those that do support it. And I know that includes you. It also includes, by the way, former Commissioner Tate. So my question is, do you agree that there's a problem? And I think to some extent you took some actions to try to address the problem, but do you agree that there's a problem, and do you agree that the Commission needs to do more to address fraud and abuse of the Lifeline program?
Well, thank you for the opportunity for me to speak about a program that I don't think people hear or talk about enough about what it's designed to do. It is designed to economically fill a communications need. It is designed to help those who are most vulnerable, often low income, often when you look at some of the studies, single grandmothers who are attempting to stay connected to schools, to medical, services, to emergency services. These are the most vulnerable of individuals who are increasingly cutting the cord. So this program has been around for a long time. It has supported a wireline. It supported a wireline infrastructure only for a long period of time, and under the Reagan and Bush administrations, it moved to a wireless platform, rightfully so, because if you look at the statistics, those who are low income, 56%, an estimated 56% of them have cut the cord entirely, meaning that their primary communications engagement is wireless. So given that, the program was rightfully embraced and included and expanded to include a mobile ecosystem. So yes, there were issues in this, in the regulatory compliance, I should say, engagement, and we took regulatory action to address that in 2012. We made some comprehensive reforms that by the end of this year will net about $2 billion in savings to the program. We have been working with the states, creating a national database, which will sync up those eligible providers. There is a state, one state, Oklahoma, that is looking at the provider experience and making sure that the providers are compliant. We have joined in also in terms of compliance by issuing some notices of apparent liabilities to the tune of almost $100 million that sends the proper signal to those who are non-compliant that we're serious about enforcing our laws. So we are continuing to take proactive stances to target on the problems that exist without harming a very worthwhile program.
Thank you. Now I'm going to take a couple of questions from the audience. And by the way, we're going to do this throughout the day. It's not just subjecting Commissioner Clyburn to it. So if you, well, I hope you'll stick around then and find out. So if you have questions, raise your hand. We have a mic, and the rule is that you have to identify yourself, please, and ask a question, and no statements and not many subparts or any subparts to the question. And we'll try and get in a couple. Okay, anyone have a question? Okay, over there in the back, wait for the mic.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, Commissioner Clyburn, Brooks Harlow, Lucas Nace, Gutierrez, and Sachs. I wanted to say I appreciate your comments about TV white spaces, and specifically my question is, do you envision TV white spaces playing a role in provision of universal service, whether it's rural high cost, rural health care, or schools and libraries in the foreseeable future? Thank you.
It to me, we've been talking, my office has been concentrating on that particular engagement for some time now, because we believe that it has the potential to provide affordable alternatives in those key areas in which you mentioned. So yes, I am hopeful and am looking forward to reviewing that particular submission, as well as what the future will hold for a more robust footprint as it relates to that, because again, I think it holds part of the keys to affordable provisioning of services. So I'm excited.
Okay, this gentleman here, so identify yourself, please.
You should use that term loosely.
He is, trust me, I know you.
Brooks Bolick, Politico. Just the mention of the FCC doing something with joint services agreements for broadcasters caused stocks all over the place to tank yesterday. Why should I not view the FCC as just simply trying to put TV broadcasters out of business?
You should view the FCC as doing its job, as balancing what the needs of the communities, meaning our goals that we hold dear that are enumerated in 257, diversity, competition, and localism, as well as our duty to uphold our statute. There are abuses that need to be addressed. But there are these opportunities that we want to nurture and support. And so what you see and what you will see on the March 31st agenda is a pathway toward a balanced process that will be used, that will take into account both goals. They're not mutually exclusive goals, meaning in enforcing the statute, as well as again, looking at 257 options. And so that is our goal and objective. And I am confident that when the market comes to terms with that we will have a recalibration that's reflective of, again, the great value of those properties.
Okay, I'll take maybe one more question from either a gentlewoman or a gentleman this time. And we'll go to Anna Maria.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie Kovacs with the Georgetown Center for Business and Public Policy. You're spearheading the effort on telemedicine. Can you talk a little bit about what you see as sort of the keys to making that a successful effort, and perhaps what some of the folks in this room might be able to do to help with that?
Expanded partnerships. What I had a chance to go home recently and look at what the Medical University of South Carolina has done with an infusion of capital from us and increased investment from the state and leveraging in the communities. What they're doing is closing so many healthcare divides. They are looking at neonatal challenges where because of distance medicines, that mother does not have to travel long distance. They are providing critical minutes engagement in terms of strokes, those critical 30 to 60 minutes that you need, to address the needs of a stroke victim, that were time that was being lost, especially in rural communities or rural medical systems. They are closing divides and having incredible outcomes as it relates to that. They're encouraging this consortia approach, which is helping even non-member, meaning non-FCC grantees leverage the possibility for connectivity by giving them the capacity to have lower cost options in terms of connectivity. What that means is more services in these critical areas. And so what we hope to do with this initiative is to put that on steroids, so to speak, and I mean that in a positive sense when I say steroids in this instance, that we would just bridge on that, working with entities like the VA, working with more of the rural hospitals, working with others who may not have gotten the type of funding, and really saying how can we partner, how can we best deliver these have better outcomes in these communities, because what we're doing and what we're seeing is money is being spent, but the outcomes in which we expect are not being realized. How can we shift that paradigm? We think technology can be a positive conduit towards that. And so I'm going to spend all of 2014 spending a lot of my oxygen concentrating on that, because I think it's so critical for this community. And quite frankly, I think it would be a wonderful legacy for all of us to join. Is that it, or you want to get him?
Who?
There was a gentleman over here.
I think
That's it? Oh, okay, I've got the hook, so thank you so very much.
All right, don't go away.
Okay.
Okay, well, that was terrific, and I want to thank you again. And as a token of appreciation for coming here today, you're going to be the first one to receive the official Free State Foundation. This is a blanket, fold-up blanket. When I ordered it, I thought, it's one of you unfold it, and it's good taking to the ball game and putting on the bleachers. Today, it might be good for wrapping yourself in it when you go outside. And I checked. The cost of this was $14. I can't keep up with what the regulations are over there, but it's only $14. So I hope you can enjoy it. And thanks very much.
Thank you so much.